cost, what is provisional sum, and how to evaluate them or value them at the time of interim payment application. So in the construction industry, guys, as we all are working for a construction industry, you all know that it's very tough to get money from the client. We all know that one. Of course, not only, we all will be pointed towards the money, whether it is contractors or client or maybe supervision consultant, or it is. You all will pay attention to make sure that we are not going to compromise in terms of money. When it comes provisional sum and prime cost, fundamental thing that you all need to learn how to very specifically pick each and every item that's going to be covered, each and every item that we are going to spend money, and how to collect that money from the client, right? And if you're working for a client side as a consultant or maybe client or maybe a supervision consultant or cost consultant, you have a task where you are going to ensure that you're not going to give any unwanted money to the contractor when you spend money or maybe amount related to provisional sum or maybe prime cost, right? Those are the fundamental thing that you all need to understand that. So throughout today's lecture, we're going to learn 5 major items. First one, we will learn what is prime cost as well as what is provisional sum. The first one we're going to learn, what is that? What are they? People keep talking that what are they? First thing. The second one that we're going to learn, how to activate prime cost as well as provisional sum in our contract. If I have something, how to activate it. The third one, which is very important, through which we are going to learn about roughly around 5 rules, how we can evaluate them or value them, right? How we can value any provisional sum or maybe prime cost, how to value them. So we have a 5 methods under FIDI, or maybe you can say that it's a general, consideration within the region. So you can evaluate them or value them in terms of executing that work. Then finally, after we value them, how we are going to adjust our contract, right? How we are going to do that one. And finally, of course, general information about what is provisional sum and prime cost and what are the nature of them. These are the 5 major elements we're going to learn. So that's going to be very depth and very detailed. So please bear with me, okay? Right. So let me start with one question, guys. What is provisional sum? What is provisional sum? Right. Let me start, or let me give you a small example. While I was working for one of the contractors, I work for them, not a client. So I work for that client. The client came to us and say that one, dear contract administrators, my company was contract administrators. They said, I want to construct a car park. I want a car park. And also I want a stand-alone mock-up room. This client was a mall contractor. So, they are going to construct a mall. It's a massive development, around 5-6 billion development. So a client has an opinion or he has an idea that he wants a very stand-alone 2-story mock-up room, separate. So any mock-up comes to that building, comes to that project, that will go to that room and they will store it in very nice manner. Massive area, around 3,500 square meter mock-up room, 2-story. So he came to us and said, guys, we may need a stand-alone mock-up room. In front of that mock-up room, we need some kind of car parking and everything. But we are not sure whether really we want to execute that or not. So he said, we want a car park. We want a mock-up room to, while we are constructing the building, we need to put all the mock-up inside that. We need to say that there should be a very nice, if it is a lift, I want to see a real lift inside that. So mock-up. So I want to see that, but I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet whether we're going to do really or not. So how you will handle this in the contract? So you're going to bring a contractor, right? You're going to mention in the contract, dear contractor, we have an opinion that, or the contract employer has an idea that he may, or he wants to construct a mock-up room, but not sure. Are you going to mention something in the contract or how you will handle that? What are you going to mention? And how many items you are going to mention something like that, right? How you are going to mention? So for that purpose, we have a one technical terms called provisional sum. Provisional sum. It's a very simple thing. You can allocate certain amount of money. For an example, 5 million, just a number based on your best assessment. Okay, just a number. In front of that, you can mention provisional sum construction of car park, provisional sum construction of mock-up room. So what you are going to mention that some area or some development which you don't have absolutely whether you will execute or not. You don't have a proper idea, or do I need it or not? But you have some kind of thought, it's better to have something. But I don't know whether I want it, or I don't know whether I'm going to execute it. I don't know whether really I want it. But let me protect myself. Let me give some kind of information to the contractor. Dear contractor, I may construct mock-up. I may construct car park. I may do so and so thing. So at the time of tender, I'm going to include in the BOQ as well as my contractual other scope of work. I'm going to mention, dear contractor, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 provisional sum element. What's the meaning of provisional sum? The contractor automatically will understand that, yeah, the employer wants to, he may go for a construction of a mock-up room. He may construct a car park. He may construct a retaining wall. He may construct ABC, but not sure. So I need to be vigilant. I need to understand as a contractor at the time of tender, I need to check it. The employer is telling that he may construct a car parking. He may construct that. So let me put some kind of amount of money or risk within my tender, right? So if any amount of money where the client does not have a visibility, whether he's going to do it or not, we call that as a provisional sum. End of story. That remember, construction of entire building, construction of entire car park, construction of a very big piece of work, scope of work. That element we call provisional sum. Okay, I hope you all understood that. So something the client does not have, whether he will do it or not, we call it as a provisional sum. But to give some kind of information to the contractor, bidders, at the time of tender, the client will include in the BOQ, include in the scope of workplaces, dear contractor, I may construct, rather than telling that I may construct, provisional sum construction of mock-up. And he will put client, remember, the client will put certain amount of money, 5 million or 10 million or 20 million, whatever it is. He will put certain amount of money. We will learn about how to assess that, whether this money is legitimate or not. We will see it a bit later. That action, that activity, we call it as a provisional sum, period. Okay. When it comes provisional sum, I mentioned that the employer may mention that he is going to construct a car park or he is going to construct a so-and-so thing, right? So when it comes that provisional sum, some employers, they haven't decided whether they want a mock-up or not. Maybe they may have a detailed information. He hasn't decided yet, but he may have some information. He doesn't know whether he is going to execute or construct the mock-up room or not, but he may have a simple drawing. He may have some kind of, visual expectation, what he wants. He may have some kind of thought, but he does not have a firm decision. In that situation, what employer will do? Employer will mention it as a provisional sum, but he will give you some hint, information also. For example, one of the example which I said earlier, that employer, he inserted provisional sum and he mentioned that construction of a mock-up room, 2-story mock-up room, 3,500 square meter, and there should be a space for so-and-so thing, and there should be so-and-so glass fitting. There should be around 50 car park in front of the mock-up room. There should be a so-and-so storage. He gave some additional information. He gave some kind of sketch, right? This is the location, 2-story. That should be something like that. A sketch of the mock-up and size of the mock-up, location of the mock-up, and some information he provided. Let's say I'm an experienced contractor. I receive this tender. In that tender BOQ, they mentioned that provisional sum, construction of mock-up, right? 2-story, 3,500 square meter. So this is the picture of it. And there should be a 50 car park. As an experienced contractor, I can visually identify that what is the magnitude of this work. I'm an experienced contractor, right? I have a visuality to identify that how much this work may cost. I did 20 years of experience in the industry, right, guys? So I have a visual expectation and I can identify rough estimation how much this may cost, right? So if the client's going to give you some information, not only they mention provisional sum construction of mock-up, he mentioned our mock-up will be 2-story. And our mock-up will be in terms of area 3,500 square meter. Inside our mock-up, we need to have so-and-so requirement. Our mock-up should have 50 car park in front of the mock-up room. So they mentioned some information. From that, the contractor can extract certain information. The bidder can extract certain information, right? Am I right or wrong? Guys, the session should be very interactive. You need to answer, huh? Right? You have a chat, as I mentioned earlier. You need to type your answers there, right? Can they extract some information from that? Yes. So that kind of provisional sum, we call that as a defined provisional sum. What do we call that? Defined. Defined mean enough information provided to the contractor for the contractor to anticipate what is the magnitude of this project. What is the magnitude of this provisional sum work? Okay, that item we call it as what? Defined provisional sum. So I mentioned provisional sum mean the client hasn't decided yet whether he will do it or not. But when he provided that information, he provided some kind of further information. From that, the employer trying to provide you some kind of hints. He's giving you some further information. Dear contractor, I need to construct a mock-up, but with this kind of dimension. As an experienced contractor, I need to extract 2 information from that compulsorily. If the employer mentioned that provisional sum and provided certain information, some employer, they will mention that this is defined provisional sum. And under that, they will provide you certain document. They will provide you sketch. They will provide you picture. They will provide you some kind of renders. They will provide you some kind of requirement. They will provide you something. They will not provide you detailed design or something, but they will provide you some information. From that, as an experienced contractor, 2 things he should extract. 1, program. If I'm a contractor, experienced contractor, I need to construct 2-story mock-up room with a 3,000 square meter. I can, from my previous experience, I can plan how long that's going to take. How long that's going to take. I can plan. So at the time of development of my program, before I go and submit that to the client, I'm going to estimate it, how long this may take, and when I should start and when I should complete. It's a contractor's plan as work. So once they have that, okay, they will have an idea, okay, to construct 2-story and 3,000 square meter, 3,500 per square meter, it will take us, let's say 7 days. So multiply by so and so thing, he will put some date and he will allocate an allowance within their program. Not only they are going to allocate the program, but also the contractor should think about what are the preliminaries required for this execution of this work. What is the meaning of preliminaries? I don't know how many of you had chance to go through my secret videos in YouTube or LinkedIn. In that one, I explain preliminaries mean they are general items required to complete the project, but they are not directly involved within the construction. For an example, take scaffolding, right? You need to get money from the client for a scaffolding, right? You are going to use the scaffolding for a plastering, for the construction of block wall, for, let's say, concreting, for light fixings, for wiring, many things that you will use. Under what item you're going to claim this scaffolding price? scaffolding money, rental. Under what item? Maybe plastering, construction, other things. Under what? You don't know, right? You need a scaffolding, but you can't very specifically claim the scaffolding related rental from the employer under one item. Those general items, we call that as a preliminaries. So this contractor, as an experienced person, he should anticipate that, okay, this is an additional 3,500 square meter two-story building. The client may go for it. He gave enough information for me to anticipate that. So I identify that this requires another 90 days, or maybe let's say 200 days. Not only 200 days, I'm going to construct a mall here. In front of the mall, I may construct this mock-up building. For this one, I need around, let's say, 70 additional labors, or maybe 70 peoples, or maybe 2 additional engineers, 3 HSC peoples. I need additional small office room to accommodate all the staff there. I need to give some kind of additional water, electricity. So they can anticipate or maybe pick up all the general item preliminaries required for that work too. So as the employer provided enough information for the contractor to identify the program duration, that program durations will give informations to the client, to the contractor, to pick up how much the general item preliminaries required for that. Do I need a additional QS? Do I need a site supervision engineer? Do I need so and so thing? Do I need additional scaffolding? Do I need additional, small equipments? Something like that. So when it comes provisional sum, the first type of provisional sum we call defined provisional sum, which is going to provide some information from that the contractor can identify the required duration of that provisional sum as well as the required number of preliminaries. We call this what? Defined provisional sum. Defined provisional sum. So remember that provisional sum is mean unknown, whether I'm going to do or not. But while the employee telling that I will do or not, I don't know, but I'm giving you some information. Take them and calculate it. So the contractor will execute some kind of program within his program and some kind of time frame as well as preliminary within the program. So while I was working for one of the program, the employer mentioned that the provisional sum item, crushing of excavated material. Okay, so the contractor, the employer gave enough information. So using that, the contractor considered something. The contractor mentioned crushing should be, we are going to excavate 2 million cubic meter of material. In order to complete all the crushing should be started from March and that should be completed by December. They, in their program, they anticipated some kind of timeline. And to do that crushing, if any preliminary general item required, they already included within the contract. Okay. So this is what we call defined provisional sum. And what are the key characteristics of defined provisional sum before we move to undefined provisional sum? The first one, this defined provisional sum will provide you enough technical information. It's not going to be detailed. It's not going to be very detailed, but it will give you enough information for you to identify the plan, program, as well as preliminaries, as well as your overhead and profit. So from that, you can identify what is the additional general requirement required. And most likely, if the client's giving you that enough information, you as a contractor will, what you will do, you will insert a preliminaries. Client knows if I'm going to give enough information, he will include preliminaries in the contract. Let's say later I've decided not to go with preliminaries. What will happen? The contractor will, without doing any work, going to earn good preliminaries, right? He anticipated the client may award this mock-up building. Based on that, it's a defined provisional sum. He inserted some preliminaries within his program, within his contract amount. Suddenly, employer says that one, I'm not going to go with that. So the contractor will be happy. Yeah. So that's why to avoid that, most of the time the client will give you defined provisional sum if he is almost 80-90% sure that he will execute that work. then only he will make it as a defined provisional sum and ask the contractor to consider a program and preliminaries. For example, as I said earlier, the crushing of the stone, the client made it as a defined provisional sum. We did that. The client instructed, the contractor did that. And remember, this will be value through valuation method that we are going to learn and also adjusted as a variation to scope of work. There are no different method for that. Of course, there should be an engineer instruction, variation, and normally your variation procedure will go. But assessment will have a 4-5 method like our normal valuation rule. We need to assess that. So if you want to consider any provisional sum as a defined, the meaning of that, the provisional sum should provide you enough information. And most of the time, the client will make it as a defined provisional sum if he is confirmed 90%, 70, 85%, then only he will make it as a defined. Otherwise, the contractor, without doing the work, going to earn preliminaries. Right? It's a waste of money. So most of the time, they will allocate this or consider this as a defined provisional sum, like a very specifically, I'm going to execute that. Right. When we speak about first term, we learned that about defined provisional sum. The second provisional sum we call undefined provisional sum. What is undefined? Very simple, opposite to that. Where the client's going to mention provisional sum, construction of mock-up. He mentioned some amount of money, 5 million. As a main contractor, what kind of information you can get it from that? As an experienced 20 years of contractor, any information you can get it from that mock-up. He mentioned the amount of money in the BOK, 5 million. What kind of information you can get from that? Any information? Any information? Nothing. You will get zero. Nothing. The employee mentioned mock-up. What is the size of mock-up? Where it's going to be located? Maybe here or maybe in Dubai or maybe in what is that? Kuwait. We don't know the location. And he did not mention the size. He did not mention the how many floor it's going to be. He did not mention any other special. He mentioned nothing. So because of that, I cannot predict my program. My client may suddenly come and tell that one, oh, right, our mockup is 5,500 square meter. I never assumed any time frame because you never provided any information to me, right? So because of that, I never considered any program. Let's say I'm like a big boss. I said that, oh no, they want to construct a mock-up. Oh, for this kind of client, the mock-up size going to be only 1,000 square meter. Let me put some, time frame. Later, the client will mention you, okay, thank you so much. Dear contractor, please execute this work for a 5,500 square meter. In your program, you submitted to the client how much? How many months? Maybe 500 or 1,000 square meter. Maybe you mentioned 3 months, but now to do the 5,500 square meter mock-up room, you need a year. You will be in jail. If you made a mistake, your company will take you to the jail. You make a mistake. So when we speak about some provisional sum itself, the client does not have a visibility whether he will do it or not, but he did not give you enough information to. For you, as a quantity surveyor or maybe as a employer of a company, you don't have enough information to identify the program, how long it will take. If it is 5,000 square meter, it will take 1 year. If it is 500 square meter, it will take 2 months. But I don't have any information, so no program. And I don't know the size of the building that's going to be. Because of that, I can't identify additional how many engineers want, additional how many water line we want, additional how many porta cabin I want. I cannot identify anything. Because of that, I'm not going to consider or insert any preliminaries amount to. So very simple. If a provisional sum where they mention that I don't have idea I'm going to execute or not, and he did not provide enough information or maybe an information from that where the contractor can extract some information, then we call it as an undefined provisional sum. Undefined provisional sum. Very simple. Okay. So how many types of provisional sums are there, guys? How many? Guys, you all need to type your answers. You have chat. Click the chat on right corner, on top right corner. You have a chat. Click it. please type your answers. The session should be interactive. I need to understand that you all understood that. Right. When we speak about undefined provisional sum, as I mentioned earlier, undefined provisional sum is just an amount of money. From that, you will get no preliminaries information. You will get no program information. You will get no single information about it. Just mock up 5 million. They mention it. From that, tell me you all worked as a contractor or maybe consultant, what you can, as a general person, what you can extract. Nothing. So contractor will not risk himself. He's going to be pull out and he's going to tell that the employer, I will wait for you. Once you instruct that to me, then I can calculate how many people required for that, how many scaffolding required for that, how many cranes required for that, what is the size of that, how much it's going to be, how long it will take. Everything I will decide once you instructed me. Then now you have a question. Okay, if the client does not have an information, does not have a visibility, then why he wants to insert that provisional sum within the contract? The main reason that they do insert in it to make sure the contractor is aware there may be some kind of work and the contractor should anticipate that I may come and ask him to do that. So he should be aware about it. He cannot come and tell, oh, the employer, oh, you want me to construct the mock-up? I'm not an expert in constructing a mock-up building. Sorry, he cannot tell that. So the main reason the employer can maintain the flexibility in time. Whenever he wants, he can instruct it. Whenever he wants, he can instruct it. So these are the characteristic of an undefined provisional sum. We call it as what? PS. Okay, provisional sum means PS. Okay, just keep it. Right. So now we learn about provisional sum, right? We have two types, one defined and the other one is undefined. Now let's move to prime cost. Before we move to evaluation of prime cost and provisional sum, let's move to what is prime cost. Let's see prime cost. We call it as a PC sum. PC sum. Very simple. While I was working for Qatar, I was handling some kind of P6 and P12 PWO contract. So a very small sum of the buildings they need to construct throughout the road construction. So for those buildings, the employer mentioned PC cost for bathroom accessories, including tap, so item. For an example, he mentioned that tap, he mentioned 250 riyal. He mentioned tiles, 350 riyal. He just mentioned some items. Can he mention rate of those items under prime cost? What's the reason? Why he did not mention that as a BOK item? Finish. Why did he mention that? Right? Why did he mention that? Why? What's the reason? To control the price, like my change, very good. No selection, good. You all are right. The client does not have a visibility what kind of tap, what kind of ceramic, what kind of door he's going to select. An example, I know that one I need a tap. For my washroom, I know that I need WC. But I haven't decided the WC what type, from where, what model, what design, rim or rimless, something, right? I know I want it. I know I want it. Not like a provisional sum, whether I don't know whether I want it or not. But in the prime cost, I know I want it. I'm going to mention that I need a tap, but I'm going to tell you for the time being, put the rate of your supply cost. Later, based on the material I'm going to select, maybe your installation will be different. Maybe your required additional people to install it may be different. For an example, I mentioned for an example, okay? Water tank. I mentioned 100 riyal. Example. I mentioned water tank, 100 riyal prime cost. Later, I selected some kind of water tank roughly around 5 meters by 5 meters, right? So previously I mentioned 100 real. Now the contractor already aware that he is going to install some kind of water tank. Now the client selected, okay, the contractor came to the client and said that, dear client, we want to install the water tank. You know that one, we need that item. So can you please tell me which one? Then he will ask you to submit some kind of proposal sometimes, or he will approach his known people and get a catalog and he will select one. And now he will tell that, okay, Mr. Contractor, this is the tank that I want. This is the tank I want. So what they will do? What they will do? They are going to go and purchase to that. And now to install this 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 by meter, 3 meters, then the contractor will calculate, in order to install this tank, I need 20 people, I need 30 people, I need 20 engineers, I need crane, I need so and so thing, I need bolt, I need nuts, everything is going to claim. The contractor knew that he will install the tank, but he was not aware about the size. He was not aware about the installation's requirement for that. He was not aware about anything. So prime cost means simply supply only cost. For certain item, he is going to insert it, dear contractor, please put only your supply. Based on my selection, your installation cost may be different, your other cost may be different, so that we will deal at the time of execution. So he is going to put some kind of certain rates in that BOQ. So for this one, for what? Supply only. Guys, let's give 1 minute break for Adhan, please. Prayer. Guys, please make sure that you are not going to mute me. Okay? So please, right? I don't think that you're going to do that. So please don't mute my microphone, please. Right. So what they said, they say that one simply delivery mean, guys, still you can't hear? Okay, now you are audible. Okay, thank you. So prime cost mean it's only a some amount of money, allocation of small amount of money for a unit rate item. If we're going to insert it, that's what we call prime cost. But remember, this prime cost item, most of the time, the contractor will execute. Most of the time. Why? It's a very small work. In order to install the tap, you can't bring, or you're not going to bring a subcontractor to purchase and install it. The simple meaning of that prime cost. It's not well formal, but you can remember that prime cost mean the contractor, you will do that, but I will select what materiality it's going to be later. That's what we call what? Prime cost. So the provisional sum mean a scope of work, entire scope of work, including design, so on, so thing. While provisional prime cost mean it's going to be very simple installation, supply only cost that you are going to include in it. That's what we call prime cost. Okay. So when we speak about prime cost, what are the item you as a contractor Or maybe what are the item you as a client going to ensure that prime cost includes? As I said earlier, prime cost only will include the material cost. Only will include the material goods supply only cost. No installation in it, no overhead in it, no attendance in it, no other cost in it. Nothing in it. It's a bare, merely the supply only cost. So I mentioned tap. For the bathroom, I know I need a tap, but I haven't decided the brand and shape of the tap. So I'm going to make it as a provisional prime cost. Later, I will tell the contractor, dear contractor, go and buy the tap from ABC company, or go and buy the tap from so and so. I selected one. Okay. For an example, while I was working for Taif Airport, the contractor made certain, the clients made certain floor finishes as a prime cost. He mentioned that this is the square meter rate, so keep it. Later, I will decide what floor I want, what design I want, what categories, what technical items that I want. So that's what they made it as a prime cost sum. So normally, the prime cost only will include what? Supply only of the material, and that will exclude installation or fixed costs and any other ancillary material like additive, the stick, or maybe cement, or maybe some kind of, burst we call to stick the material, maybe screw, additional small tools, or some other items. Subcontractors fees, your preliminaries, any preliminaries required. I mentioned preliminaries, right? General items required to execute the work, your profit, and your main contractor's overhead, your main contractor's preliminaries, your main contractor profit, nothing will be included in it. But if it is a provisional sum, you have a chance for a defined provisional sum that you should have considered the prices and everything within your preliminaries. So that's what we call prime cost. So remember, guys, provisional sum mean entire scope of work that's going to be. Prime cost mean it's a supply only material. For that one, you don't have a certainty. You don't have visibility what tap you're going to select it. So you're going to make it as a tap, prime cost under that tap, water tap. You're going to mention that 35 real, 50 real, 100 real. Right? When you select your tap, the contractor will go and come to you and he will give you the price. He will give you the check. He will give you the invoice. Based on that, you are going to select it. Okay, that's what we call prime cost as well as provisional sum. Right. And remember, guys, when we speak about prime cost or provisional sum, both of them are uncertain. Both of them are uncertain. Do you know whether the employer will construct the building or not? Do you know whether the employer will going to select what type of tap? You don't know about it, right? You don't know anything about it. So normally, you as a QS or commercial personnel who is going to work for a company, make sure that you are going to consider the actual supply cost. Actual supply cost. You're not going to tell that, right now, that's going to be so and so amount of money. No, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to calculate the actual supply cost. Tell the contractor to submit the tax invoice. Tell the contractor to submit ABC. So you're going to collect the actual supply cost, invoice or whatever it is, and any other overhead, profit, preliminaries, any other things the contractor wants. The contractor cannot come and tell that one, oh, to install this tap, I put 3 engineers. He can't come and claim it. He will come and tell that, okay, I put 1 engineer, 1 supervisor, 2 fixtures, and we installed 10 taps, right? So what are the things that you're going to claim? You're going to ensure that you are going to collect the actual supply cost from the contractor, and you're going to identify all the contractors' actual associated cost. And what you will do when you adjust that one, for an example, you are going to do the interim payment application now. What you will do, first, you will take the BOQ item, and in that BOQ item, it was 35 riyal. What you need to do, first, you need to omit that item. So put minus 35. Minus 35. Then below, you're going to add actual purchase material using the invoice number 1235. That's going to be 95 riyal. So first what you did? First you omit the original PC or PS amount. We will learn later also about the PS, right? You are going to include it. You are going to omit that. Then second, what you're going to do? You are going to include the actual supply cost the contractor incurred. Then you are going to include the contractor actual general requirements, overhead, fixings, profits, and everything. And finally, you are going to adjust the reflection. So it was 35 real, original your BOQ. So you're going to deduct that. You're going to add 95 real. So that's going to be additional 60 real. And plus the contractor requested 5 real, 10 real, 7 real. You're going to add everything. And that will come his original amount of money. The original amount of money that he is entitled for that PC sum. Right now, you all have some kind of concern. Okay, Asmi, please, can you please clarify again what is PC and PS? So I made a very simple table for you all to understand. First, provisional sum mean what is that? Allowance for undefined or defined work. It's a work, scope of work. The prime cost mean that's going to be a supply only cost. And when it comes provisional sum, scope of work is not fully defined at the time of contract. Not fully defined at the time of contract. And when it comes prime cost, one specific or 5 specific or 100 specific items which the client hasn't decided yet. Very specific item he hasn't decided yet. And also the installation cost in the provisional sum scope, that's going to include construction, execution, installation, completion, everything. But when it comes prime cost, only supply of material cost will be there. Any other additional cost will be come later. Once the client selected, if he's going to select small tank, 2 people. If he's going to select big tank, I need 20 people. So all the installation, fixation, additional cost, overhead and everything will come later. And how you are going to adjust it? Adjust based on the instruction, of course, based on the exact work that you are going to execute. But when it comes prime cost, how you are going to adjust it based on the actual product that you are going to buy, based on the actual installation cost that you are going to install, based on the actual overhead and profit that you incur. And when it comes provisional sum, guys, the client will involve very, very less. He will give you the information and tell you to go and construct. But when it comes prime cost, the client, I said, right, clients will come and in a very detailed manner select the one. As I said, for WC, water closet, we call it as a comet inside the toilet. The clients came, he checked each and everything, whether they have a good color, made from which country, and they mention what is the shape, whether it is rim or rimless, how the water going to be flush. Everything they check. Because that's the reason that he made it as an item only. Guys, I need to select this item very properly. It may be gold plated. It may be, copper plated. Something that he wants to ensure the shape, size, beauty, quality, execution. Everything he wants to ensure. For that, he allocated. So the client involvement, when it comes prime cost, that will be severely higher compared to provisional sum. In the provisional sum, it's going to be a small, okay, these are the drawing, go and execute the work. So the contractor will execute and finish and give that to them. Okay, so that's what we call prime cost and provisional sum. So before we move to learn the rules of valuation, make sure, guys, in all situation, you as a QS, whether you are a client QS or contractor QS, make sure in order to execute the prime cost of provisional sum, you need to have an instruction to do that. You can't go on, in my BOQ, I have a provisional sum of Mocha building. Yalla, let's go and construct it. After 3 months of the award of the contract, okay, let's go and construct. Can you do that? No. Client himself, he doesn't have a visibility what he is going to do, what kind of material he's going to select, how he is going to do, whether he is going to construct or not. He does not have 100% sure. That's why he made it himself, right? As a provisional sum of prime, because how you can go and start it. So always you as a contractor QS or maybe client QS, make sure that the contractor is not claiming the provisional sum or prime cost money without instruction. You as a contractor skewers, make sure that without the instruction of the engineer or the client, you are not going to claim the money from the client. You are not going to do the work from the scope of work. You are not going to do that. You are not allowed to touch it. First thing. Okay. So no PC or PS can be executed without proper engineer's instruction. And make sure you as a client, or maybe you are a main contractor, you are going to instruct the subcontractor to do some kind of provisional sum or prime cost work, ensure you have a sufficient design information. Or maybe ensure you have a sufficient employees requirement and other information. Ensure that you have enough document where without any problem, any disturbance, you can continue the work. First one, you have an instruction where the engineer going to issue an EI, tell the contractor, please process with provisional sum item, so and so thing. Not only the instruction, but also they need to provide all the document. And sometime the client may instruct you to prepare the quotation, right? They will tell that, oh dear contractor, I want to execute this provisional sum. Can you please submit 3 quotation? They can ask. So you need to go to the market, bring 3 quotation and give that to them. And once you provided those quotation, once you receive the instruction, you will activate the work and your works will be valued based on your rule of your contract valuation. In majority of the contracts, guys, in majority of the contracts, we have 5 rules. We have 5 rules. Mainly, we have 5 rules. Okay, in the industry, we have 5 rules. Each and every rules that we are going to see now. Okay, right. Now you executed. The employer asks you to, okay, issue the engineer instruction. The contractor, go ahead, execute the work. So you started to execute the work. So the very first one, if that work is related to the items already priced within your BOQ, it's a very straightforward rule, right? So let's say the employer mentioned that provisional sum, construction of car park slot in front of mock-up building. That's a provisional sum. And in your BOQ, you have a car park, construction of car park in front of the mall. Let's say both of them are same car parking. One is shaded car park, and here also you have shed, right? Both of them are car parking. So this car park in front of the mock-up room, he hasn't decided. So because of that, he made it as a provisional sum. You already priced for another 1,000 car parking in front of the mall with a shed and everything. You priced one car park. You mentioned that that's going to be 2,000 riyal. Or maybe for one building, the employer wants to think about whether this building I'm going to make it as a plastering, or maybe this room I'm going to make it as a plastering, or maybe entire work's going to be, tiles or marbles. He hasn't decided. So he mentioned that room number 21, plastering as a provisional sum item. He mentioned that room number 21, plastering, or maybe the finishing of the wall as a provisional sum item. He just mentioned that. Later, client said that one, yeah, it's very tough for me to go and bring marbles and tiles and stick all of the places. Now I am thinking to go for a plastering. So he issued an engineer instruction. Dear contractor, please execute this value engineering number item, so and so thing, and submit your valuation. How you are going to value? How you are going to value that? So if the items already included in the price, what you will do? In the BOQ, of course, definitely you will open the BOQ. In your BOQ, you have a rate for the execution of the plastering, where your rate already incorporated the preliminaries, incorporated the so and so thing, incorporated your overhead, incorporated your profit, everything normally, most of the time. So your rate is readily available there. What you gonna do? You're gonna take that, okay, in my BOQ also I have a plastering price, 20 real per square meter. So now I need to execute 500 square meter of plastering, multiply by 20. So that's going to be, valuation is going to be $10,000 or pound or whatever it is. So what you're going to make it? You're going to make it as 10,000 real. Very simple, straightforward. So what you will do, you will calculate the area and you will match the item with your BOQ rate, multiply and go ahead. That's what we call first rule, use contract rates and price. Right? It's very simple. Who is going to tell that I never practiced that? Of course, you all practice that work. The second one, we have a similar item. We have a similar item, but that's exactly not with the same condition. Right? For example, the client say that one, you need to do some kind of internal block work. Internal block work. But in your provisional sum, in your BOQ, you have a block work rate 100 real per square meter. Provisional sum item, you have, in your BOQ, they mentioned that block work as 100 real square meter. But the client, under the provisional sum, he mentioned execution of external block works, which required so and so thing. So you already have a block work, internal 6 meter or 6 feet height block wall, you have a price of 100 real square meter. Suddenly, employer activated the provisional sum of construction of, let's say, external boundary wall, which is 12 square meter. 12 feet. Your 100 reals per square meter price based on what? 6 feet. How many? 6 feet, right? But now provisional sum, of course, it is also block work, but boundary wall, he mentioned that 12 square feet. So the 6 square feet, you need only one scaffolding, one layer of scaffolding. When it comes to double height, 12 feet, you need double height scaffolding, right? And also your productivity will be less. Like here, the people will quickly start to construct that one, they will go. But when it comes to double height, the people's work productivity will be reduced. Am I right or wrong? And you need a 2 layer of scaffolding. Am I right or wrong? Right? So we need additional effort, additional activities, even though it's a similar work, but some kind of small adjustment required. Some kind of small adjustment required. That rule we call adjust the contract rate. It's a similar item, but because of not a similar method, not a similar condition, not a similar location, not a similar place, we need some kind of additional rate. For example, if you are going to construct a house back in Sri Lanka or maybe here, Saudi or wherever it is, if you are going to construct a house, go and ask a square meter rate of ground floor of wall and second floor wall. They will tell that ground floor will charge you, for an example, 50 real per square meter. But if you are going to construct on the roof or maybe first floor, then our charge going to be 65 real. You may ask, you here also you are in ground floor also you're asking, you are constructing block work and there also you're asking block work. So why you are charging 15 real more? He will tell that, dear mister, I need to bring a person to bring the cement up floor. I need to bring a person, additional person to bring all the sand to first floor. I need an additional setup to carry all the material from down to up. And also I need to work with a special arrangement not to fall down. I need to have a special arrangement. Who is going to give all the money? If it is a ground floor, I can stand and do the work. But if it is first floor, I need to have a special arrangement, additional services. For that, I need to pay money. So considering that, you are going to consider the additional work. And if I'm not wrong, under rule number 3, we will learn all the items. Okay, what are the items that you need to consider? So now you are going to tell that, okay, block work, I will do that one for the 100 real. But in addition to that, double height hanger scaffold I need. I need safety harness. I need some kind of special supervision. I need a special lighting. I need a special arrangement. I need additional 2 people. So you're going to list down all the additional people and you are going to claim that additional money. So you identify that, okay, to entire work, I need additional around 50,000 real. So now the 50,000 real additional entire provisional sum work, let's say 100 square meter. So 50,000 divided by 100 square meter. For 1 square meter, you have an additional 500 real. So 100 real your price plus 500 additional rate. So now your rate is going to be 600 real. Right? For an example, I'm telling. So original contract and original BOQ amount, similar work, but additional work required additional adjustment. So you're going to make a small adjustment and insert that. Then finally you come to a price. That's what we call adjust the contract rule. Okay, rule number 2. So remember guys, first you need to have an activation. Remember that. Okay, and once you have activation, then only you can think about rules. If you do not have an activation, be quiet. Don't speak about anything. Okay, remember that. So many people think about, oh, how I'm going to explain, how I'm going to activate so on. Did the employer first started or ask you to do? No, be calm down. Okay, be silent. Don't do anything. Right. Similar to that, once they activated the PC or PS, we have the third rule we call new rate. New rate based on the actual cost plus profit. New rate, completely the work they requested you to do completely entirely different. You came to, for an example, you came to construct a house. Okay, you came to construct a house. Suddenly, the employee say that one, I need to do some kind of, excavation of ground floor. He came to construct a house. He suddenly said, I need to do a excavation for ground floor. Is that linked? No. A simple example I'll tell. While I was working for one of the mall construction around 4 or 5 years ago, we appointed a contractor to do excavation. He came there as an early package contractor just to do the excavation. Suddenly, employer issued an instruction, said, dear contractor, we have some kind of furnitures in Oman. Can you please bring that? What kind of instruction? He came to me and said that one asked me, I came here to do or to work as a civil contractor to do my excavation. Now suddenly you're asking me to bring a furniture from Oman. I'm not a logistic company. I did not come here to do that. So how you are going to handle this situation? Let's say you have a provisional sum item which you directed the contractor to execute, for which you don't have BOQ rate. And this item is completely different. How you are going to evaluate it? On what basis? So for that one, you are going to agree a new rate. You are going to identify the actual rate. You are going to ask the contractor to submit actual rate. A simple example I tell today what happened. Okay. So the employer hired one contractor to do construction of bridges. Suddenly, because of the government requirement, this contractor was instructed to remove the plants around the construction of the bridge, yeah, underpass, overpass, any trees under that, remove that, protect them in a proper manner, and bring that back after you completed your work. So they came here to do what? Construct the bridge or underpass, overpass. But suddenly they are doing some kind of tree removal, protection, and planting them back, some kind of additional work. So when we go through the BOQ, you don't have any BOQ rates. Planting the tree, removing the tree, installing the tree, you don't have it. Let's say how you are going to deal with that. So now you will go back to the contractor. You will tell the contractor, submit me all the materials, all the labors, all the plants, everything that you incurred to you, and give that to me. I know that one you're going to do a work. I'm going to give you on top of that 10 or 15% as an additional money. Why? Let's say the contractor will come and tell the employer, I could have invested this 20 million, the money that he spent for the planting and everything. Yeah, he spent his own money. So he can come and argue with the contractor, I could have invested this money somewhere or other project where I will earn 10 to 15% of profit. He's right. Why he wants to spend 20 million for 6, 7, 8 months for you without earning any profit? He can argue that he could have invested that money somewhere else, where from that he would have earned good amount of profit. So always, when you go for an actual cost, unless otherwise you already agreed or something, always make sure that you're going to consider all the labor, plants, material and everything, and the profit also. Right now, you may have a question. Okay, ask me, just say that one labor, material, equipment, plant. What are the items I need to consider? How I need to ensure that? That's a $1 million question. What are the items I need to do? Right? When we speak about labor, don't just accept whatever the things the contractor going to submit, or don't just accept whatever the things the employer going to tell you. Employer may tell, right, at labor mean only this amount of money. No, you need to make sure that you as a contractor going to make sure that you have a timesheet signed by the supervision consultant. Someone should be witness, right? He can come and tell that, oh, Mr. Employer, to remove the shrubs, I spent 20 people. You can come and tell that. Oh, to remove this tree, we spend 6 hours, 3 people for one tree. You can come and argue. So that's why. So you as a contractor, to make sure that you will prepare a timesheet with the appropriate period, and you are going to give that to supervision consultant who is monitoring you to sign that timesheet and send that to them. And the clients may ask you to provide the payroll. This person under you, this employee under you, give us a payroll you paid. And labor deployment schedule. You already got an approval from us that to execute this additional work, you are going to bring additional 20 people. Give us. And if you are going to appoint the subcontractors, give us the invoice. I don't want to tell the name of the project. In one of the project, the contractor came to us and said that one, the employer, because of your additional instruction, you ask us to do so and so professional some work. So we paid around 33 million to the contractor. We were shocked. And we said that one, really? 33 million? Yes, he argued with us. He said, no, we paid the people, each and every people are very expensive. We brought additional people, specialized people. Then, we started to speak and we said that one, okay, contractor, no problem. Don't worry, we will pay you money, but submit your timesheet, also your tax invoice. What did we say? Your tax invoice. The meaning of that, backdated tax invoice on the day that you pay to them. You should have released the tax invoices. Without that, you can't claim any money. That's a government work or your work. You should have paid some kind of zakat or tax to the government. So please show that to us. The contractor stopped and he started to bluff. He said that, no, contractor, employer, out of that 33 million, around, 20 million worth of work, we did ourselves. Then I ask a question. We appointed you for this project, right? And you removed one sand from or one stone from one place to another place. Are you going to come back and tell us, oh, dear contractor, the employer, I supposed to do only the building. You supposed to remove all the stones and everything. I'm not going to do. Or maybe you are being appointed to a company and your head office call you and say that one, the ABC, they asked me, right, you're working for this project, right? Okay, I need a 5 minutes of your time. Can you please do this paperwork and send that to me? You did that and you went back to the manager and say, manager, I work 5 minutes additional work for head office. So it's not related to my project. So pay me money. Manager will tell, okay, thank you so much. I'll pay you the money for the head office. But as you did not work for the project that 5 minutes, I'm going to deduct the money of the project related salary to you. So I will deduct the salary of the project. I will pay the head office working hours. So it's going to be equal. So same kind of thing. The contractor will come and tell. So he started to tell that, all right, I'm doing so and so thing. You know that when our people work, yeah, we pay the money for your labor. We paid your people to come and work 8 hours. Within that 8 hours, they did some work. It did not impact our progress and everything. They were monitoring. They're supposed to monitor 1 square kilometer. They monitored 1.2 square kilometer. It's okay. Same preliminaries. You did not bring additional people. If you brought additional people, give us the timesheet. We will give you the money. So make sure you are going to provide enough information to the client, as well as a client, you are going to check all the document from them. Guys, if you are a main contractor, you're going to check subcontractor. If you are a subcontractor, you're going to check your subcontractor. So remember that it's not specific to the client. It's going to come to the bottom level. First one. Okay. The second one, if they are going to submit any price for a material at the time of PC or PS, any material, make sure that you have a purchase order. Ensure you have a very clear purchase order they purchase for a very specific item. Most of the time, the contractor will submit or your subcontractor will submit some kind of purchase order. And he will put huge amount of quantities where those quantities not related to your project. He will purchase for 3-4 projects and he will claim the money from you. So ensure that you have a very clear purchase order and you have a very clear suppliers invoices, and make sure that all the quantities were delivered to the project. And this project people, supervisors or whoever, he accepted, signed. They mentioned that, yes, we checked that there are 103 items. They stamp. And ensure that they already recorded worst or maybe any returned item. Remember, guys, they can bring 1,000 item. They can claim, your subcontractor may claim from you 1,000 item. And later, after 3 months or 2 months, they can return 950 items. He's going to earn 1,000 riyal, 1,000 items price, and he's going to save 950 items price. So when you speak about material, you need to make sure that you have a proper PO and supplier invoice. The material was delivered to the project with the required quantity and no waste or return. Anything that they incurred, make sure that you are going to properly record it. And similar to that, when it comes to equipment and plant, ensure the plants were rented for your project. So while I was working for one of the project, funny thing happened. The contractor submitted disruption cost. He said, I rented this, I rented that, I rented so and so thing. He listed and he claimed around 800 riyal. So we ask very simple question. Okay, you rented this, provide us a rental agreement. That should be chambered by Bahrain, Chamber of Commerce. That should be chambered. That agreement should be chambered by the Chamber of Commerce. We requested him, he dropped the claim. He dropped the claim. Why? All the machineries were his own machineries. He used his own machineries because of some disruption claim. He tried to get some kind of 800,000. It's an 8 million riyal, 800,000 Bahrain dirham from us. And we ask a simple question. Okay, submit the backdated contract or maybe plant rental agreement and make sure that that's going to be chambered by the Chamber of Commerce. We ask a simple question, he dropped that. So when we speak about if you are going to evaluate any equipments or plants or anything, make sure that you have a proper logbook. You have a hiring rate already agreed, or maybe you can ask the quotation from them, and make sure that there is a proper rental agreement as well as invoice. And if they have used any fuels or maintenance or maybe any other things, log and a proper invoice for that. It's a very tough work. Don't think that, guys, evaluating the prime cost or professional sum, that's going to be very simple. You need to go very detailed into that. Why? These rates and everything were never agreed with the contractor. You never agreed. So what you're going to do, you're going to go back and check each and every items in order to make sure that these items going to be very properly evaluated. And remember, the agreed rate is going to be multiplied by 1,000 item, 1,000 provisional item that you're going to do later. So anything that you're going to do, that will be multiplied by the agreed rate. So if you wrongly agree any rate, then you are going to give unwanted money to the contractor. If you as a contractor, if wrongly agreed the rate, which is a less than your actual cost, you're going to lose your money to the employer. So remember that. And similar to that, your subcontractors. If you have a subcontractor, then make sure that you are going to secure the subcontract agreement. Make sure that you are going to have a proper purchase order. Ensure that you have a performed certificate, site photos, log, signed certification, WIR, MIR checkup, material inspection request, or work inspection request, anything signed by the supervision consultant, right? Someone appointed to supervise you, get his signature. Get it? signature. So if it is anything subcontractor cost, ensure that you have an approved contract agreement. Ensure you have a approved agreement, invoices, as well as evidence for the work was executed or maybe evaluated. Then not only that, any other overhead. Now it comes, you're going to tell that the employer, in order to do this provisional sum, I constructed additional porta cabin. In order to do this one, I brought additional supervision engineer from my side. In order to do that, I brought around so and so water tank. In order to do that, I brought additional internet router. What you gonna do? You are going to claim your additional administrative cost. So not only your labor, not only material, not only machinery, not only subcontractor, but also your overhead and site administration cost, right? And when we speak about this overhead and site administration as well as profit, guys, I want to tell you that most of the conditions of contract, the employer will tell you, dear contractor, if I'm going to instruct you any provisional sum or PC sum or maybe normal variation, I will not give you any additional overhead, site administration or profit, right? So at the time of tender, you read this clause. You as a contractor, you read this clause. You as a contractor, what will be your opinion? How you will handle this? This is one of the risks. The client's going to ask you to do it later. He will not pay you profit or he will not pay you site administration cost, additional site administration cost. What he will do? What he will do? You all are commercial people. What he will do? Ah, very good. What you will do? You will identify this as a risk. You as an experienced person or your company as an experienced company, you will identify the risk, insert in your rates or maybe some very specific item. What you're going to do? You can identify that amount of money, how much we may incur as a loss. So you will at the time of tender insert within your rates or maybe insert for a one item. It depends on the company, depends on the commercial manager. They can do some kind of magic to insert that price all over the places. Okay, that's what you need to do. And for any of that new items, right? We mentioned that it's a new item, actual plus profit. In that case, in that provisional sum, any item that you executed day work, we will learn day work as one method, okay? Use of day work, if I'm not wrong, rule number 5, we will learn. So if you use for a provisional sum, actual work, actual item, also a portion of the work day work schedule, then make sure that you have a record of day work and insert that one too. So you have calculated all the labor, material, plant, subcontractor, your overhead, administration, any portion of the work executed through day work schedule, and finally, your profit. Normally, in this region, our profit margin is what? Roughly 8, 10, 12, maximum up to 15%, right? That's what the contractor will try to take. Contractors, owners, as a profit, solid profit, they will try to take this amount of money. Of course, definitely within their rate, they might have inserted many other profit contingencies and everything that will come back to you, will come back to the contractor. So when we price or when we assess any provisional sum or prime cost using the actual cost plus profit, guys, make sure that you are going to consider all the factors that we learn. We learn about the labor, material, plant, equipment, subcontractors, suppliers, overhead, administration, and day work schedule if any portion of the work you executed. And at the end, you are going to consider your profit, and finally it will come 16,500. So previously we mentioned that 15,500 for all these kind of items, and your percentage of 10% of your profit, that's going to be 1,500. Finally, it will come 16,500. 500. And remember, guys, when we speak about actual costs, other than your BOQ rate, other than your agreed BOQ rate, if any rates that you are going to execute, the employer has the right to ask you to submit, has the right to come and audit, has the right to come and submit the evidence for the client's record. So this privilege will not go for a BOQ. If you are going to use the BOQ rate, do you think that the employer will ask you to submit the, oh, right, okay, tell me how much actual? No. You're going to tell that the employer, for the work, I mentioned 1000 real, you accepted at the time of tender. But now it's a new work, new rate. You are agreeing now some kind of new rate with an actual cost. If you are going to lie to them, then he will tell that, no, 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 no. I don't want this one. Submit the invoice, actual invoice. So remember that the engineer or the client can audit those documents. And all the documents should be organized. Most of the time, the engineer will tell that, submit me all the document with a cover sheet. So you need to prepare it and give that to the contractor. Okay, all the documents should be combined and give that to the contractor. So that's what we call rule number 3. So rule 1 and 2, they are very simple. Rule 3, actual cost. For that one, you need to pay a bit more attention to ensure that you are going to go through one by one. Then finally, you are going to go for that. And the next rule we call the rate that's going to be identified by the engineer. As I said earlier, the provisional sum item is not, related to your BOQ item. You don't have that item. How you will set the rate? Of course, we learned 3 methods. But when you go for the method number 3, the contract engineer did not agree the rate. He said that, well, no, you are manipulating that. Your actual rates are not seems like actual. Or maybe you did not submit the actual cost. You did not submit the invoice. I keep asking you to submit the invoices. You did not submit that. Then how we can move forward? Contractor will come and tell that one, the engineer, I'm spending money. Give me the money. Yeah, you're right, contractor. Give me the invoice. I'll give you the money. I'll approve the money. This is what it's going to continue. Do you think that this will go until end of the project? No. You need to facilitate the contractor. You need to think about the contractor spending money. He's burning money. Money is his blood. That's his blood. He's using that to run the project. If you're going to stop it, everything will be stopped. So the next method that available, provisional rate set by the engineer. What do we call that in the industry? For this specific rate, we call one term, specific term. Who can recall that? Who can recall that? One specific term we call for this rate. Very good. What you call? Very good. Naos, Nihal. Very good. All right. We call it as star rate. What do we call that? Star rate. The rate that will be decided by the engineer using his prerogative, using his freedom or discretion. He is going to set the rate. So okay, the contractor did not submit the actual cost. You don't have any BOQ item. You don't have other method. So what you gonna do? You can't make a proper adjustment to that. You're gonna set a provisional rate with the proof or maybe with some kind of justification. The contractor, you are entitled this amount of money. For an example, while I was working for one of the project, the contractor came with a suggestion that the overall cost for his work, that's going to be 26.4 million. And he requested additional amount of 12 million, considering so-and-so thing, and he provided certain rate for this. So I checked the rate, me and the cost consultant, we checked the rate, and we identified that those rates are not acceptable. You wouldn't believe, for one item they claim around 25,000 real, where I can go to the market and bring that for roughly around 2,000 real. So I cannot accept. I need to be a neutral person. I need to make sure that the contractor is getting the correct thing, and also employer is not going to give unwanted money or maybe unfair money to the contractor. So what I did some kind of survey, and using my good knowledge, I went to the market. I brought some kind of consideration, and on top of that, I put some kind of contingencies, additional amount, additional consideration, everything, and I set the rate as 5,500 riyal. So they claim 30, 25,000. We identify market is that's going to be 2,000, but I came to a common number. I came to a common number. That number we call it as what? Star rate. I'm going to with an appropriate, justification. I'm going to set a fair amount. I'm going to set a fair amount. That's what we call, what is that? Provisional rate set by the engineer. But remember, guys, the contractor may take you to court, right? It's not going to be, I'm not joking that it's not going to be such a severe. If you are going to wrongly justify that amount, the contractor can take you to the court. He can come and tell that this engineer wrongly determined the rate. Actually, we incurred around 12,000 riyal. He is giving us only 5,500 riyal. So make sure you as an engineer, you're going to justify it. You are going to collect all the communications evidence to make sure that your rates are right, and make sure that you have an engineer's instruction, and you as an engineer, you are correctly evaluated that, and ensure that you have all the supporting proposal or market research, market quotation that you collected. Okay, very careful about it. So the fourth rule is what? You are going to set a rate reasonable by you as an engineer. So you're going to go to the market, identify that, collect it, and properly set it. So for an example, you have a landscaping work, 25,000 real provisional sum you mentioned. But the contractor tried to claim around 38,000 real. You came to that contractor, okay, submit the actual cost or submit the so-and-so document. He did not submit, or you don't have it, you don't have visibility. So what you're going to do? You're going to go to the market, you're going to get the rate, and you will reply to the contractor, dear contractor, we check the market. In order to do this landscape work, the cost will be 12 real per square meter. Our total area is 1,500 square meter. So total 1,500 multiplied by 12, that's going to be 18,000 real, right? So that's going to be 18,000 real. So remember, guys, in the original contract, original BOQ, we mentioned 25,000. Now what we are doing? We are reducing the amount. Is that possible? Yes, that's what we need to do. We will learn a bit later. If I'm not wrong, the last slide or before that slide, we are going to learn about that. So we learn about first method BOQ, the second one BOQ, second method BOQ with a reasonable adjustment. The third method, actual cost plus profit. The fourth method, star rate, provisional rate by the engineer. And the fifth method, that's use of day work. How many of you worked with day works, guys? How many of you have worked with day works? How many of you have used day work? Type your answers, guys. Yes or no, something like that. Very good. Many of you might have worked without knowing that you worked. Yeah? Okay, I'll ask you a question. In your BOQ, the last item, the engineer will ask you at the time of tender, he will ask you, can you please provide how much your rate per labor per day? He will ask you to provide some kind of list of item, and he will ask you to price it. If you are going to use the forklift, how much rental per day? Or maybe how much per hour? If it is a boom crane, how much price per day? Or maybe how much price per hour? He may ask you to provide some rates only for certain items, certain people, to certain scope. What's the purpose? Why do they ask? What's the purpose? You already priced for all the item in the BOQ. So why they want to ask us to do a day work based on the day? Per day skill labor, how much? Per day supervisor, how much? Per day rental of machine, how much? Per day so on so on. Why they do ask? In some situation, you may execute or you may want to execute certain works which is not similar to your original scope of work. One example, my work is construction of a house. Construction of house. Think about very simple manner. So in the BOQ, I mentioned everything. And also below, the employer requested me to provide the day work schedule, skill labor, how much per day, non-skill labor, how much per day, your breaker, how much per day, your so-and-so thing, how much per day. He requested, you gave the rate. So now he started the work, you went to the work, and while you started to construct the building, and while you're instructing, the contract employer came to the building and he watched the building and said that, well, no, I don't like this. Even though it is original contract, you constructed that based on the original design. I don't like this portion of the wall. I need to break it. Break, and I want the wall to be like this. He's going to change the design. So now you want to break the wall, right? Do you have a rate for the break? Demolition of the wall? Did you include any price? No, in your original contract, it was just a original work, so on so ABC work, you listed based on the BOQ. Now suddenly he's asking me to do some kind of additional work, which is not based on my original scope of work. He's asking me to do some kind of provisional sum work. He's asking me to do some kind of prime cost work, which is not, I don't have any rate in my original BOQ. Now the employer is going to come and tell, okay, you need to demolish this wall, right? So you don't know how much square meter, how much cubic meter going to cost you. Okay, put 2 labors or bring 1 breaker. Let them work. If they are going to work 1 day, 2 labor, I have a day work, how much? I have a day work price for the breaker. Or I have a hourly basis of so and so thing. I'm going to multiply by how many hours, how many days they're going to work. I'm going to multiply by this rate and give the money to you. Give the money to you. Very simple. Okay, so you have 1 method, 2 method, second, third method, fourth method, and even the 5th method. If nothing gonna work, then actual how many people work, multiply them and give the money based on the BOQ rate they provided for labor, how much, skilled labor, how much, unskilled labor, how much. They gave some money, multiply and give that to them. That's what we call use of day work schedule. Using of day work schedule rate, right? So PS and PC instructed, what you will do? You will try to identify the ways of evaluating that using these 5 methods. Using these 5 methods. Mostly, we do go with these 5 methods. If you are going to identify any problems or any condition, that will fall within this method. Okay? So remember that. Very important, guys. Rule number 3, which is related to what? Actual cost. Most of the cases that you're going to deal for a prime cost or provisional sum, that's going to go and fall under rule number 3, which is actual cost plus reasonable adjustment of profit. So ensure that you are going to properly check your cost. And the second one, you are going to make sure that properly calculating the provisional profit, which already mentioned in the contract. These 2 things people very often they do miss. They don't check properly whether the profit contract is entitled or not. The first one, they don't properly articulate the actual cost of the work. So these 2 things, you need to pay attention to that. Right now, you instructed, you evaluated the work. How you are going to adjust the contract sum? How you are going to adjust the provisional sum or maybe prime cost? First, make sure when you do IPA or IPC, interim payment application or interim payment certificate, you are going to remove the original provisional sum or maybe the original prime cost. Let's say they completed the prime cost or maybe provisional sum. Provisional sum, it's mentioned 5 million. But now you have an actual cost, actual work executed, actual price, actual invoices, everything you have. And you identify that based on the method that we learn, that's going to be around 3.5 million. So are you going to give him 5 million? Oh, right. Okay. We inserted 5 million. Go ahead. You're entitled for that. Is that what you're going to do? We very clearly mentioned that amount is a provisional sum. It's a unknown amount of money I incurred. I may ask you to do that. I may not ask you to do that. I may remove that, or I can ask you to do the partial work of it. I may ask you to do the small portion. I may ask you to do so and so thing. So it doesn't matter how much. At the end, we are going to evaluate how much it's going to be. So first, deduct the 5 million from the total contract amount. You are going to deduct the 5 million. And now you are going to evaluate your actual valuation that you did by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 method. Any of the methods that you identify that, you are going to evaluate and insert that money and make sure you are going to formalize through variation order. So initially you issue EI, right? How many of you know that the change management procedure of the company? Maybe any RICS APC candidate? So first the employer will issue the EI. Once they issue the EI, the contractor will immediately issue a notice. The employer will receive a variation. This may have a time and cost impact. So we will come back to you with the time and cost impact to you. So that's what they need to do. So once they did that, the employer will request you to prepare, or sometime the employer will prepare and give that to you agreed valuation of instruction. So we ask you to do some work, dear contractor. Do you know that? For that one, let's agree the amount of money. So you both will sit down, evaluate the work, and you both will agree, okay, it's a 3.8 million amount of money as the valuation method that we learned. So through that one, you both will agree, and in that form, you both will sign AVI. Long time back, someone asked this question. So I'm going to ask the same question to you. In a form, both parties will going to mention EI number 7, execution of ABC provisional sum item. For this, the valuation, both parties we are mentioning that's going to be how much? 3.8 million. Is that going to be a contractual document? Is that going to be a contractual document? In that document, both parties, I don't mean that parties mean the engineer. Engineer is not the parties to the contract, huh? Remember that. You as an engineer or consultant, you don't sign the contract. Contract will be signed by whom? The employer and the contractor. So both parties at the end of the 3.8 million, they will mention that we both parties confirm that this amount agreed as a valuation amount for this provisional sum variation. And we both are confirming we are okay for 3.8 million. Both will sign. If they sign this document is a contractual document. That's enough for you to consider as a contract amount. You don't want to change the contract. You don't want to change the contract. So once you sign that, where you have a very clear terms and condition, which is going to tell, guys, we both are agreeing for this valuation, for this provisional sum, 3.8 million is our money. So both will sign, and that will come automatically will be considered as a change to the contract amount. You don't want to assign an amendment or maybe changes to the original contract. That's what we call, what is that? You have variation order. Variation order. Remember that, guys, boy. Okay. And remember, the engineer is not the person to sign the AVI. That should be signed by the client and the contractor who originally signed the contract. Okay. So that's how you need to formalize it. That's how you need to formalize it. Right. When we speak about provisional sum, what are the nature of provisional sum that you have? Nature. Guys, I want to tell that if you want CPD certificate for this event, 2 hours event, then at the end, if I'm not wrong, we have one, if I'm not wrong, next slide, we have one QR code. You need to scan and fill some information. So we may issue you a CPD certificate, right? So remember that, guys. Provisional sum, it's just an allowance. There are no confirmation that that will be executed. It's just a placeholder. It's a place to just to keep the money. There are no confirmation that that will be awarded to you. And also there are no confirmation that will be provided to you. There are no confirmation that that will be carried out, and make sure that this can be awarded to someone else. The clients may give that to someone else. The clients may bring someone else and ask the work, do the work. So don't think that if they mention something in the BOQ, I should execute the work, right? And as a contractor, do you have any risk? We learn two types of professional sum, right? If it is a defined professional sum and the employer did not execute it, you are happy because you have some kind of preliminary saving. You have preliminary serving by you considered additional preliminaries required for to execute the provisional sum, but the employer did not execute it, so you have some kind of preliminary serving in it. If they are not going to execute it, you're going to lose nothing. You're going to lose nothing because the employer very clearly mentioned this is a provisional sum. It depends on me whether I will do it or not. Okay, remember that. And until the employer activate that provisional sum, it's not your contractual amount. Until you activate or the employer activates that provisional sum, it's not your contract amount. So most of the time, unless otherwise the employer very much sure the included provisional sum will be executed, the employer will not pay the advance payment for that provisional sum. Let's say your contract is 100 million. And within that 100 million, you have 20 million related provisional sum. If the employer is sure that this 20 million related provisional sum will be executed, then he may give you 10% advance payment. How much is that? 10 million, right? He may give you. But if he is not sure whether he will execute this work, 20 million work or not, he will tell that remove the provisional sum amount, balance amount how much? 80 million. So 10%, 8 million only I will give you advance payment, right? So we have a different procedure. If you are going to pay the advance payment money to the nominated subcontractor, which is a different world, guys. If you are going to learn RICS APC, then you will learn this. So if you are going to learn, if you are going to pay the nominated subcontractor's payment, then you need to check whether did I pay this provisional sum related money to the contractor, advance payment to the contractor. If so, I need to ask him to go and pay the money. So it's a lengthy procedure. So make sure the provisional sum amount that inserted within the BOQ, it's not your contractual amount. It's not your contractual amount. You can't go and fight with the employer. The employer, oh, so and so thing I did, please give me the money. Right? You can't fight for it. Okay? So remember that these are the very succinct 5 rules. And remember what is provisional sum and what is prime cost, and ensure that you are not going to execute provisional sum or prime cost without instruction of the employer. Remember that, guys, okay? And if you want the CPD certificate, and some people they don't want, but CPD certificate that they attended this session, please scan the code. If you want, please scan that, or maybe fill the form. Admin, posted a form in chat. Please fill the form so you will receive a certificate for this event. All right, with that all, guys, thank you so much. I hope at least I transfer some kind of informations that within the industry what we execute and how we do execute, especially how to value the works if that's going to be executed through